Hey, everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Well, let's take a look at foreign direct investment, which of course is the next unit inside development economics. And remember, these are the things that foreign direct investment is going to be connected to whatever the domestic factors of economic development are, whatever the international trade impact is on economic development. All of those things are intermeshed with one another. So foreign direct investment is looking at why would multinational corporations, huge corporations, choose one country to invest in over the other. And that's how I want you to think about it. Okay, so foreign direct investment, that's money coming from foreign countries directly into other nations. So let's take a look. All right, first of all, we need a quick definition, right? Foreign direct investment is long-term investment by private multinational corporations, MNCs, in countries overseas. Super simple, right? Foreign direct investment is investment directly put into foreign countries by corporations that are multinational because they operate in multiple nations, in countries in other countries overseas. Fine. FDI, foreign direct investment, usually occurs in one of two ways. Multinational corporations build new plants or expand their existing facilities in foreign countries, or multinational corporations merge or acquire by existing firms in foreign countries. I live in Santiago, Chile, and there is a grocery store chain called Leader. And there's also a grocery store chain called Econo. Econo and Leader are both local Chilean brands that were bought out by Walmart. So that's a multinational corporation merging or buying existing firms in foreign countries. If you go to downtown Santiago, you will see a company called Sherwin-Williams Paint Company, which is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown. That is an example of a multinational corporation, Sherwin-Williams, building a plant in Santiago, right, to produce paint. Currently in the world, there are 82,000 multinational corporations with 810,000 affiliates all over the world. So let's take a look at who they are. By the way, when I think of foreign direct investment, I like to think of the most visible things. Like what's visible? Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola. Wow, that's pretty obvious. What else? McDonald's, Burger King. For some reason, Kentucky Fried Chicken in certain places of the world. Those are foreign. Nike, Adidas. Is it foreign direct investment or an expansion of multinational corporation from Germany? Okay, so I like to think of the most obvious, but here are the biggest. Check it out. General Electric, right? Vodafone, which is a British telecommunications company, Royal Dutch Shell, British Petroleum, ExxonMobil, Toyota Motor Company, right? Total, which is a French petroleum company, and an electric gas and water company from France. That's the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 international multinational corporations on the planet. The interesting thing is, and this is always the look at how many employees they have. Right? This is employees they have in other nations. Look at all you could say, this is like the argument for it, right? Look at all of the jobs they create in foreign countries and all the jobs they create around the world. That's an enormous amount of jobs. Okay, and this report's from 2009, so maybe it's changed a little bit. But who are they? Look at, they're the massive, they're things that you drive, they're gasoline that you consume, they're things you use to talk with. Kind of interesting, right? Drive and power companies and telecommunication companies. That's the biggest, largest multinational corporations. Notice like Coca-Cola is not even on there. Okay, so there's some examples. Now, why would multinational corporations go into developing nations? Well, you know, if you're pretty savvy kids, anybody in the IB program is savvy. If you look at these reasons why multinational corporations would go into the developing world, they are very similar: natural resources, huge markets, low cost of labor, few regulations. That is exactly why the imperial powers in the 1800s expanded around the world, right? These are the basis of imperialism. These are the basis of expansion. These are the basis of you could maybe even say this is why the Romans expanded, eastward. So this isn't new stuff, and sometimes when you throw it into economics, people get all like, oh, well, they're going to think about it in economic terms. No, it's really logical, right? Why would a multinational corporation want to go to a developing nation, right? Well, one reason, of course, obviously, is that the countries may be rich in natural resources such as oil and minerals, right? And multinational corporations have technology and expertise to extract these things. I live in Santiago, Chile. Copper is a massive commodity here. And guess what? There's a lot of foreign companies in here, and they're, you know what? Yeah, no, Western powers, U.S. and European powers, they're really good at Canada, really good at extracting raw materials. So who's the best people to be doing it globally? Well, those who have the expertise, right? And for example, sort of interesting, top recipients in Africa are those countries with the most valuable natural resources, and they were Angola, Nigeria, and Sudan. Okay, so natural resources. Secondly, huge markets, right? Well, yeah, that's why the British wanted to take, why the British were interested in China, why they're interested in India, why they're interested in expanding their colonies everywhere. So some developing countries have massive markets, and multinational corporations are located directly in the markets where they have much better access to a large number of potential customers. This is like straight up logic, right? With growing incomes and all sorts of consumer goods rising in multinational corporations are going to go and take advantage of that. And they're good at it, so maybe that's not such a bad thing, of course, right? That's why everybody's scrambling to get into the Indian market and the Chinese market nowadays, multinational corporations. And that's because there are 2 billion people in those two countries combined. That's crazy. That's 2/7 of the world population. All right. The other reason why multinational corporations will go into developing nations, of course, is low cost of labor, which lowers the cost of production. This is really simple cost analysis. If you can have people do the same quality work but pay them less, you're going to be more profitable. You lower your costs, and you're going to be able to produce more. And the other reason why multinational corporations would be interested in going into developing nations is that in many developing nations, government regulations are much less severe than those in developed nations. And that kind of is pretty obvious as well. Like if you look at the costs involved in producing anything in the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency is going to come in and make you adhere to certain regulations, and they're going to get enforced. And if you've traveled around and gone to more developing nations, they're trying to attract foreign direct investment, and they have less of an incentive to be concerned about the environment because they're trying to develop as a nation. And guess what? The United States, when it was going through its developing stage in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they just polluted the country to no end, right? Worrying about environmental standards is actually considered to be what they call in the policy world a post-materialistic value. That means that once you have enough to not be worried about survival, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should be concerned about the environment, right? But humans have always exploited the environment, even if it means cutting down trees and growing food. That's an exploitation, in a way, of a forest, okay? So there you go. There's introductory explanations to why multinational corporations would move into developing nations. And, of course, MNCs are the contributors to foreign direct investment. All right, I hope you found that video to be helpful, and we'll talk to you in a bit.